right, everybody, welcome back. This here's Ghost Stories Episode 3. We're going to start with the subject of hauntings. Okay, now we're going to be talking about Shepherd College again. It's going to continue from the last story on the last episode. Such a history augurs a town abounding in ghosts. But if it does, officials are largely mum on the topic. Now, when I visited Shepherdstown, I found ghost information hard to track down. Unlike many towns and cities that have capitalized on the popular interest in ghosts, Shepherdstown has little or no official interest in mining local lore. Now, at this point, you will find no organized ghost walk through the historic district and no locally written book on notable haunts. But ghosts there are, and some of them have been famous for a very long time. People who have lived in Shepherdstown, including students, quickly realize that they share the streets and buildings with phantoms of the past. Many are anonymous, fleeting residues, sometimes just a presence. Others are better formed and more active, and these often are associated with legends and even bits of history. Alright, now we're going to talk about Shepherd University in itself. Now, Shepherd University has numerous ghosts, and its haunting legends are publicly acknowledged on the university's website. Now, the campus was occupied during the Civil War, and Miller Hall was used as a temporary hospital for the wounded from Antietam. The campus covers about 1/3 of the town, and several of its buildings are thought to be haunted, especially dormitories. Some are tied to unverified legends and stories, but nonetheless, people report experiencing the phenomena. Now let's move on here to Miller Hall. Now, Miller Hall is one of the most active buildings on campus, but little of the activity is connected to the Civil War hospital casualties. Whitish mists are seen, strange noises are heard, and water faucets in the rooms turn on by themselves. Photographs of the hall are sometimes marred by white mists superimposed on the building. Residents experience poltergeist effects such as objects that are moved, a blue figure sits in chairs, and the ghost of a girl about age 12 with long dark hair and clad in a Victorian-era dress walks the halls. She is believed to be associated with the Schley family, who owned the property where the hall now exists before Shepherd University purchased the land in 1915. Legend holds that the girl was in the hayloft of the barn on the property when she fell from the loft and died. The girl ghost is seen in Turner Hall too. An unknown nursing student supposedly hanged herself in the attic of Miller Hall, but no verification of this tale exists. Her ghost haunts the attic, however. Now, in the 1980s, a Catholic priest performed a blessing in room 201 to ease the supernatural discomfort of its residents. Some versions say the priest performed an exorcism, but this would be highly unlikely without a lengthy procedure and involvement of the church. Now, we're going to talk about Kennemond Hall. In Kennemond Hall, people have seen the ghost of a young boy about 8 years of age, dressed in knickers, vest, and driving cap. According to lore, he was standing by a construction site for one of the bridges being built from Shepherdstown to Sharpsburg, Maryland, waving to his father, who was on the river when he fell to his death. The little spirit likes to play with the televisions, computers, radios, and other electronic devices belonging to students. Another ghost has been reported in the basement of Kennemond. Alright, now we're going to move on to McMurrin, Shaw, Thatcher, and Turner Halls. The clock tower in McMurrin Hall has the ghost of an old man who likes to be left alone. He can be seen peering through the shutters late at night. In Shaw Hall, a ghostly woman stands in front of windows at the ends of floors. The B wing of Thatcher Hall reportedly is haunted by the ghosts of people who are buried in an old cemetery adjacent to the building. The dead are restless, the story goes, because some of their headstones were removed for construction of this wing. Does Turner Hall have a body inside it? According to legend, when the hall was built, a construction worker named George died in a fall in the rocks. His body was not removed, and the hall was built around the fatal rocks. This supposedly explains why Turner Hall does not have a continuous basement, but has a rock room instead. Turner also hosts a ghost, as the Victorian girl from Miller Hall is sometimes seen here as well. Alright, we're going to move on to Gardner Hall. Gardner Hall was named after a former professor, Mabel Gardner, whose portrait figures in the haunting of the hall. According to lore, a student named Patty L. was a homecoming queen who lived in the hall in the late 1980s. One day, she slipped in the shower and hit her head in a fatal blow. Since then, her ghost has walked the halls and created minor disturbances. To placate the ghost, the portrait of Mabel Gardner was turned upside down. It righted, then the ghost would react by creating more disturbances, such as noises and movements of objects. On homecoming nights, Patty's ghost could be seen crossing the football field long after the game was over. A student who experienced the ghost firsthand reported it on the West Virginia Ghost website in the spring of 2003. Matthew Edler was living in Gardner Hall on the second floor. The number of the room, 211, was displayed upside down. Edler was told that it had to be that way. He went on to describe his experiences. And this is his experiences. Then one night on a weekend, when my roommate and his girlfriend went away, I was awakened in the middle of the night by the sound of footsteps in my room. The sound moved from my door to my roommate's side of the room, where I could hear the abrupt shuffling of papers. Eventually, the footsteps approached the edge of my bed, where a cold sensation erupted. The next day, I confronted several of my friends, asking whether or not a ghost really existed in Gardner. Their immediate response was, yes, her name is Patty, and she roams the halls at night and rests in the day in your room, number 211. Well, after discovering this, I noticed a plaque of memory in our lounge for a girl with the first name Patricia. As the story goes, she died in the shower after hitting her head. This incident occurred in either 1988 or 1989. The picture of Mabel Gardner must remain upside down because Patricia blames the Gardner family, for some reason, for disclosing the accident, which could have possibly been avoided. About 2 weeks before I left for summer break, I woke up in the middle of the night and what looked like a blinking flash of light that surrounded the mirror in my room. After looking up, a young woman appeared with dark brown hair and in a white outfit. My guess is that Patty wanted to appear to me before I left. Alright, we're going to talk about the Yellow House. One of the university's most famous haunted buildings is a small clapboard structure called Yellow House, also known as the Entler-Weltzheimer House, located on East High Street between Snyder and Knute Halls. The home originally was a 1.5-story, 360 square foot log cabin, believed to have been built between 1772 and 1793 by Femetge and Clarkson Freeman. Some believe it was the very first private home in Shepherdstown. It was erected on one of Thomas Shepard's original lots, part of the site of the old fort Shepard built during the French and Indian War, circa 1754 to 1763. Now, in the early 20th century, it was occupied by a cobbler named George Yonts and became the site of a mystery that has never been solved. Like many ghost tales, this one has several versions. It is said that Yonts was a strange but well-liked man. He lived alone and liked to work well into the night. Often the tapping of his hammer could be heard into the wee hours. Neighbors believed he had a great deal of money hidden on his property. On the morning of December 10th, 1910, his body was found outside his cabin, either a few feet or some distance away. People were shocked. It was assumed he had been murdered by someone trying to steal his money, but no culprit was ever apprehended. Yonts was buried, and treasure hunters scoured the house and area in hopes of finding his hidden stash. No money was ever found. Soon afterward, a family with a black cat moved into the cabin. One night, as the family sat around their fireplace, they heard a strange sound emanating from the attic. It was a tapping that sounded like a cobbler's hammer. While the family froze in terror, the cat jumped up and raced up the stairs to the attic. After a few minutes, it raced back down, shrieking in alarm. It crashed through a window and bounded out into the night, never to be seen again. The family moved out, and other residents who came after them also heard the phantom tapping. Another version of the story says that the first resident after the cobbler was Miss Net Entler, a member of one of the town's founding families. In this version, the black cat had belonged to Yance, and Miss Entler decided to adopt it and also keep the furnishings and possessions left behind by the cobbler. Now, on the first anniversary of the cobbler's death, the cat acted strangely. It prowled the house restlessly and kept looking at the attic door. When night came, the cat scratched wildly on the attic door. Finally, Miss Entler opened the door and horrible sounds issued forth, as though some great scuffle were taking place. The cat raced into the attic. After an hour, the horrible sounds subsided, and the cat returned downstairs, appearing to be greatly fatigued. This behavior and mysterious phantom fighting occurred every year on the anniversary of the cobbler's death. After the cat died, the sounds of the fighting in the attic still went on, until Shepherd College purchased the property in 1926. Since then, Yellow House has had different incarnations as a private home, a sorority house, a daycare center, a home economics classroom, and a storage unit. The house was modified over the years to the point where little original remained. In 2011, the university began renovations to restore it to its original condition. Will the renovation alter or end the haunting? Only time will tell. Alright, everybody, this one here is called Entler Hotel and Historic Shepherdstown Museum. Most visitors to Shepherdstown check out the historic Shepherdstown Museum, formerly the Entler Hotel, on the northwest corner of German and Princess Streets. Now, the museum has a ghost, which is commemorated on a plaque. The building originally was a residence constructed on the west side of the property in 1786 by Philip Adam Entler Jr. Later, other owners added more on the eastward side. By 1809, the entire property was owned by Daniel Bettinger, who turned it into the Entler Hotel and leased it out. It was the hotel in town. Now, in 1912, the Entler residence on the west side of the property burned. Later in the 20th century, the Entler Hotel became the Rumsey Hotel and then was acquired by Shepherdstown College, which turned it into Rumsey Hall, a dormitory. Now, it housed students, World War II Navy and Air Force cadets, and college faculty. The building was marked for demolition in the 1970s, but was saved by a grassroots effort to restore it to its present status as a museum. Now, the museum now occupies the west side of the building, and Shepherdstown visitors center the east corner. Now, the ghost is believed to be that of William Bull Smith, who died at the Entler Hotel. Smith was from Winchester, Virginia, and graduated from William and Mary College in 1808 with a law degree. He established his legal practice with a boyhood friend, Joseph Holmes, as his associate. Now, in 1811, a disagreement arose between them, and they exchanged harsh words. It was still the custom of the day for gentlemen to settle their disagreements by duel, and a mutual friend egged them on to do so. Dueling was, of course, dangerous and potentially fatal. Sometimes gentlemen deliberately missed each other, but satisfied the challenge of the duel. Now, other times, men shot to wound or kill. Reluctantly, Smith challenged Holmes to a duel. Of the two, he was the superior marksman, and Holmes must have surely worried that he would be killed. The site that was selected was on the Maryland side of the Potomac, and the weapons were traditional dueling pistols. The two men faced off at dawn. According to eyewitnesses, Holmes fired the only shot, mortally wounding Smith. Smith was carried to the Entler Hotel, where he was placed in a small room upstairs. His mother was notified, and she managed to arrive from Winchester just as he died. She had his body returned to the family estate of Hackwood near Winchester, where he was buried with honors. His ghost, however, apparently lingers at the hotel. Unexplained noises, footsteps, and the sounds of objects being moved are heard at night, usually by staff working after hours. A plaque titled An American Tragedy, A Good Ghost Story, relates the tale near the room where Smith died, which is now part of the Arts and Industries exhibits. Alright, this one here is going to be Shepherdstown Sweet Shop Bakery. Want a ghost with your cupcake and coffee? Well, the Shepherdstown Sweet Shop Bakery, located in a 200-year-old building at 100 West German Street, has at least one invisible occupant. The bakery was established in 1982 by Howard Butcher and specializes in Old World pastries. Upstairs are apartments, and these quarters are where the ghost of an unknown man is usually experienced. Some of the bakery employees who have lived upstairs have seen his apparition and heard strange noises, usually at night. Now, some have described him as an elderly man with white hair and mustache, dressed in a military uniform. Alright, y'all, this one here is Devonshire Arms Cafe and Pub. A friendly ghost haunts the Devonshire Arms Cafe and Pub at 107 South Princess Street. The building originally was a repair and construction shop for horse-drawn carriages, built in 1900. Now, other incarnations have included an interior decorating business, a financial company, and an artist space. Carolyn Litwack, a native of Devon, England, and the present owner and manager, was one of the buyers of the property in 2007. Now, another party owned the Carriage House Cafe and Tea Room on part of the premises, and eventually the name was changed to the Carriage House Cafe and Pub. Litwack is now the sole owner of the property, and she reestablished the cafe as the Devonshire Arms Cafe and Pub, an authentic English bar and grill that had its grand opening on April 29, 2011. The day of the royal wedding between Prince William and Catherine Middleton. Historic features of the building have been preserved, including a wood-beamed ceiling that held the block and tackle used to raise the carriage chassis, and a wide doorway that rolled open to allow carriages through. The ghost is believed to be the spirit of one of the former owners, an interior decorator. The upstairs still has its shelving where he stored many of his fabrics. Now, most of the phenomena are experienced by Litwack and the staff. They hear the sounds of the front door opening and footsteps, and though a patron is entering, sometimes they see a blurred white or dark shape pass quickly by. But no one has come in, no one living, that is. They also sometimes find the door open when it has been closed, and the ghost turns lights on and off and moves objects around. Once one of the male employees was standing with his back to the bar and felt a breeze go by behind him. He thought it was Litwack playing a prank, but when he turned around, he was startled to find himself alone. Even friendly ghosts can be too much for some people, and one former female employee was so spooked one night that she ran out of the pub. For the most part, however, everyone takes the ghost in stride. Activity seems to be cyclical. Now, the ghost is very busy for a period of time and then becomes dormant. It is more active in colder months. Alright, everybody, this one here is Elmwood Cemetery. Located on the outskirts of town at 4849 Kearneysville Pike, Elmwood is a fine old cemetery. A self-guided walking trail takes visitors through the many historical graves. The cemetery dates to 1780 when Abraham Shepherd gave the Shepherdstown Presbyterian Church 1 acre of land. It is the oldest part of the cemetery. Now, in 1868, the Southern Soldiers Memorial Association purchased a plot of land for 120 Confederate soldiers who were either killed at the Battle of Antietam or died from wounds received there. Many of the soldiers interred here are unknown. An additional 120 Confederate soldiers killed were also laid to rest throughout the cemetery, which was officially dedicated on Confederate Memorial Day, June 5, 1869. Between 1870 and 1890, a vault was erected to store embalmed bodies if weather conditions made it impossible to dig graves. Now, later it was used to store dynamite and maintenance equipment. Eventually it was abandoned and fell into disrepair. Restoration began in 1999 and the vault was rededicated 3 years later. Also buried in Elmwood are 2 Revolutionary War veterans, one veteran of the War of 1812 and veterans of the First and Second World Wars, including a Rear Admiral from the First World War, Dr. Joseph McMurrin, the first president of Shepherd College and a Confederate veteran, rests here as well. Cemeteries often hold ghostly residues of the past, and Elmwood is no exception. The ghosts of Confederate soldiers are seen on the grounds and in the surrounding areas. Faint, unknown voices have been recorded in EVPs. All right, everybody, this one here is the Apollo Civic Theater. Built in 1913, the Apollo Civic Theater at 128 East Martin Street in downtown Martinsburg still provides entertainment to appreciative audiences, including several ghosts. Originally named the Apollo Theater, it opened in 1914 with vaudeville acts and motion pictures. Today it offers mostly stage productions. Like most theaters, the Apollo comes alive with ghostly activity, especially at night and when individuals are alone. One of the ghosts is believed to be Charlie, a manager who worked there during the 1920s. Now, Charlie was fond of cigars, and visitors and performers have smelled strong cigar aroma just before performances, especially in the fall season. Now, Charlie also has been seen outside the theater wearing a fedora and a jacket with the collar pulled up. A resident of a nearby apartment once saw him on the street and assumed him to be an actor, but then he vanished before her eyes. Now, in 1975, the Apollo Civic Theater group purchased the theater. Mike Knoll, one of the members of the group, said in an interview in 2002 that he saw his first ghost ever at the Apollo the same year. Knoll was alone in the theater one night when he saw shadows moving across the back balcony and heard footsteps creaking up and down the stairs. Spooked, he quickly closed the theater and left. Now, Knoll since has heard many corroborating accounts from others about ghostly activities, including reports of a man with facial hair wearing a brown checked shirt and bib overalls, a woman in a long white dress, a couple trying to strangle each other in the ballroom, a ghost backstage that pushed people from behind, and a mysterious phenomena that caused an outbreak of hives. Footsteps are also commonly heard. This one here is Berkeley Springs and its environs. Berkeley Springs, the seat of Morgan County, was originally named Bath, after the famous spa town in England, and was America's first spa. From colonial days, the hot springs drew a steady stream of visitors, especially the rich, famous, and powerful. Some were drawn by the medicinal properties of the water, and others by the entertainment, social connections, and high life. Now, here's history on it. In 1747, Thomas Jefferson's father, Peter Jefferson, noted the area on a map. He referred to it as Medicine Springs. Members of George Washington's family, along with friends, laid out the town in 1776 and officially named it Bath. More than 100 lots were sold the following year, 2 of them to George Washington. Now, visitors bathed in the springs in hollowed-out pools with brush screens for privacy. Men and women bathed on alternate days. Washington had his own private tub. The springs are still in use in the town center today. Water flows at about 1,500 to 2,000 gallons per minute at a constant temperature of 74 degrees Fahrenheit. The first bathhouse was built in 1784, followed by a Roman bathhouse on the same site in 1815. In 1802, Bath became known as Berkeley Springs when Virginia set up its postal system and built a post office in town, as there already was a Bath, Virginia. Now, the town remains officially Bath to this day. Berkeley Springs is only a postal address. During the 19th century, Berkeley Springs was famous for the wild social life it offered. Now, the town has endured several fires, rebuilding after each one. It remains a popular resort in summertime, an arts center, and a gathering place. Now, we're going to talk about the hauntings, okay? Hauntings. Berkeley Springs has numerous hauntings, and many residents have reported apparitions and mysterious sounds and activities in and around their homes and in the area. The geology of the area may account, at least in part, for the ghostly activity. The town is in the Appalachian Mountains, set against Warm Springs Ridge, beneath which the spring water flows. Now, springs have a long association with haunted locations around the world. Warm Springs run goes through the middle of the town and joins the Potomac River outside of town. In addition, the area abounds in quartz and silica, which also are associated with notably haunted areas. Now, the silica, which has been mined for more than 100 years, is a high-quality 99.9% pure buff white sandstone that is low in iron. It is ideal for flat glass, specialty glass, building products, ceramics, paint, fillers, extenders, pool filtration, and recreational use.